Listen up. This lesson will change your life. It'll rock your world. Did you know that 49% of teenagers when surveyed think the best way to become a millionaire is to star in a reality TV show? Give me a break. They're not even real. Or that winning the lottery or becoming a pro athlete or a pop star is the only way to really get rich? You know, this is flat out not true. Those things happen, but they're very rare. The best way to make money, to become a millionaire, is to learn how to save money. And if you start early and you do it right, you'll build some serious wealth. This lesson will teach you how important saving money is and how you can make your money grow. Something called compound interest. Wait till you meet my friends Ben and Arthur. This lesson's fun, it's exciting, and it will inspire you to save some of your hard-earned cash. Enjoy.
Please welcome nationally syndicated radio host and New York Times best-selling author, Dave Ramsey.
Thank you. We are going to lay out a step-by-step game plan for you to be able to win. The core, the outline, the bones, the skeletal structure of that whole process is called the baby steps. Now the baby steps work like this. I have figured out that if you do little things all in the right direction long enough, eventually you get there. You don't have to make huge strides. You don't have to be real flashy. All you got to do is put one foot in front of the other and keep taking a baby step at a time. If you'll keep taking step after step after step after step, you get to win. You know, money moves around. You have to make money behave. You have to make choices with it. And so our first choice is we're going to engage the baby steps. Now, let's talk about the baby steps. Baby step 1 is $1,000 cash in the bank. That's your very first one. I want you to do that really, really quickly. And baby step 2 is you do the debt snowball. And we're going to work on that in the debt lesson in detail on how to get out of debt. And then baby step 3, you're going to finish your emergency fund 3 to 6 months of expenses and savings. Baby step 4 is invest 15% of your income, and we're going to do that with an investing lesson and with the lesson on retirement and college planning. And baby step 5, college funding. We're going to go through that whole process as well. Show you how to do that. 6 is pay off your house early, and the last baby step is build wealth and give a bunch of it away. We're going to teach you to live like no one else so that later you have the opportunity to live like no one else. We're going to teach you to live like no one else so that later you have the opportunity to give like no one else. And we're going to walk you through this, again, step by step by step. Baby step 1, quickly, I want you to get $1,000 in the bank. Or you could just put it in the underwear drawer if you want. You know, you can store it anywhere you want to store it. But the trick is this, you got to put it someplace where you can't get to it too easy. So maybe the underwear drawer won't work, because maybe the pizza man will get your money. No, the pizza man's not going to be in your underwear drawer, but I know what happens. I know what happens. He comes to the front door and says, ding dong, the pizza's here. And you go, ooh, this is an emergency. So you got to put it where you can't get to it too easily, but you also got to put it where you can get to it if you need it, because it is there just for emergencies. Most people can do this in a month, and you need to do it really, really fast. Baby step 1 is the easiest baby step, and baby step 1 is the hardest baby step. It's the easiest baby step because it's only $1,000. By the way, if you make under $20,000 a year in your household, mark through that and make it $500, because I want you to do this really, really quickly. So again, it's the easiest because it's a small amount of money. You have a big garage sale, you work a little extra, boom, you can get this thing done right now in 1 month. Knock that one out. Some of you already have $1,000. You're going, check that off. I'm ready to move on, right? Now here, it's the hardest baby step though, because it means you've got to decide if you're going to climb this ladder or not. You've got to decide, am I going to take these steps? Am I going to change my behaviors? And when you make that decision, it's a big deal. Because I'll tell you this, human beings do not like change. We drive the same way to work every day, on the same road. We wear the same clothes all the time if we're not careful. But here's the deal, we don't like change. Even if what we're doing is not working. We're proud of our stupidity. You know, we become defensive of our mess, don't we? We're like a toddler sitting in a poopy diaper. Yeah, I know it smells bad, but it's normally it's mine. We are defensive of our mess. Even if it's not working, we don't like change. So this is when you decide if you're going to change or not. This is when you make the decision. So it's the hardest baby step because you got to face you. You got to look in the mirror and go, you're the problem. And when you do that, then you start to win with money. See, what we're talking about here is that savings must become a priority. not an intellectual discussion, because I've never interviewed somebody that says, no, I think savings is dumb. I think saving money is a really dumb idea. I've never heard people say that. But everybody talks about it and no one does it. This is where you actually have to learn to decide to pay yourself first. You need to learn to give, save, and then pay bills.
The average person has about $10,000 in savings.
$4,000 to $5,000.
A couple $1,000 maybe.
I think the average person has in savings is about $10,000.
Not very much. Probably between 10,000 maybe. Yeah.
Not very
You've got to make it a priority. Let's kind of talk about it this way. How many of you in here have children? Raise your hand. Once I get your hand up, keep it up. Now, if you have children, and how many of you, keep your hand up. If you don't have children, how many of you hope to someday? Or there's a child anywhere on the planet you kind of like? Okay, now that's just about everybody, right? So stay with me here. Now, you can put your hands down, but let's pretend for a second that a disease had broken out. That would be awful. And there was a vaccine that was needed to save the life of your child. And that vaccine was going to cost $5,000 cash, and you had to save $5,000 cash by the end of the year. You had to save $5,000 cash by 6 or 8 months from now. And you couldn't go get it. You had to change your behaviors and save money. If it meant the life of your child, how many of us could find and save $5,000? One lady's like, which kid? But we could do it. All that means is this. Now, obviously, we didn't give you a raise. We didn't give you a budgeting technique. We didn't give you some magic pill to make you rich. You changed your priorities. In that horrible, macabre example, you looked at it and you said, if I had to, I could do it. If it became important enough to me, I could do it. You would reprioritize your life. Let me tell you what, that's when people start saving money. When it becomes important. And it's important. Because I tell you what, we've got a whole culture wandering through life like Gomer Pyle on Valium. And they wake up at retirement and go, Shazam, I'm broke. I sure hope the government, which is well known for its ability to handle money, will take care of me. This is a dumb plan. Saving money as a way of life is an exercise of character. It's an exercise of emotion. It's absolutely vital.
I don't really know in what country people save the most money, but it's probably not the United States.
I have to say
Germany.
China.
People save the most money in the USA, probably.
Great Britain.
Oh. Italy? Yeah, I really don't know.
People probably save the most money in America, maybe.
You know, the U.S. has a negative savings rate. And countries like Japan and European countries, many of them have a positive savings rate. You know what a negative savings rate means? That means we are spending more than we make. Hello. That's not hard to figure out, is it? We're spending more than we save. We're eating into our savings every year with a negative savings rate. That's got to change as a culture or we're going to fail. Saving money is about emotion and it's about contentment. When we use that example of the vaccine with a child, your emotion gets you and you say, I can do this. Ooh. It's also about contentment. It's about, you know what, I don't have to impress you. I don't have to buy something to feel good about myself. It's okay to get me some stuff. But I'm just going to be okay where I am because it's more important for me to be able to have some savings to go to college, send my kids to college, to retire with dignity, to change my family tree, to have some stability for the first time ever in our household. That's more important than buying that thingy. And I'm not against thingies, but there's a process here that you've got to engage in. It has to become very, very important. And our parents never talked about savings much. For that matter, in a lot of households, parents didn't talk about money, did they? Our parents didn't talk about money, they didn't talk about sex. We figured they had neither, turns out they had both. And so we got to talk about this out loud. We got to say savings matters. You know, according to the Employee Benefit Research Institute, 58% of American workers have never even calculated what it'll take for them to retire with dignity. And 59% said they hope to have a standard of living equal or better to their working years. Now listen to this. 58% have never run a calculator or look at it, but 59% have hope of being better. What kind of stupidity is that? That's total disconnect in the way we're looking at money, in the way we're handling money. It doesn't work. Well, if I save money and I do the stuff you teach, I'm going to become rich and evil. And if I have money, I'll be an evil rich person. Yeah. There's a plan. But haven't we gotten this disconnect going there, seriously, where we think that everybody that's got money is evil or something? Sometimes we watch too much TV, I think. You know, the truth about money is that money is amoral. That means it doesn't have morals. It's not good, and it's not bad. It doesn't make decisions. It functions based on what you or I do with it when we touch it. When we put it in the hands of a human is when we see it change. Now, it's kind of like this brick. This brick is amoral. I can take this brick and throw it through a plate glass window. Or I can take this brick and build a hospital or a home for unwed mothers. I can take this brick and build a clinic in a neighborhood that doesn't have one. The brick doesn't care. It's just a brick, but when you put it in the hands of a human, it starts taking on life, and then we say, oh, that guy's got a bunch of bricks, he must be evil. Or that one has no bricks, he must be good. And we start making these judgments, it's just a brick. Let me tell you, I have met rich people who are total greedy jerks. Have you? Say yes. Yes. I have met poor people that are total greedy jerks. Have you? Yes. I have met poor people that are some of the most godly people on the planet, haven't you? Yes. I have met some rich people that are absolutely incredible human beings and do all kinds of cool things with their wealth and are some of the most godly people on the planet, haven't you? You see, it's not the money, is it? If you're a jerk and you've got bricks, or you're a jerk and you haven't got bricks, you're still a jerk. Money is amoral. You're not bad because you've got some. You're not good because you're dumb. It doesn't work that way. It's just money. That's all it is.
Anytime you open a checking or a savings account and you're not at least 18 years of age, you have to have some kind of an adult on there. Usually that would be your parents as the custodian of the money, because if you're not 18 years of age, you cannot enter into a contract in any state in the United States. At least it wouldn't be binding if you entered into the contract. So banks will require an adult, quote unquote, signature with you.
The only difference between saving and hoarding is not an amount. See, sometimes you look at someone else and say, well, if I had that much, I would do. Yeah, right. You haven't been there. You don't know. See, the difference in saving and hoarding is your attitude. It's your heart. That's what Larry Burkett used to say. Some people have $10 and they hoard that. Others have $10 million and don't hoard that. See, what I'm talking about is this. You got to learn to save money. And then when you get a pile of money, whether it's a big pile or a little pile, how you treat that, your attitude towards that, tells us whether that is saving or whether that is hoarding. It kind of is like this. You know, here's the deal. This is the international sign of anger, the fist. And if you hold your hand open like this, even a dog understands that. See, if you hold your money like this, it will never get out. But guess what? No more can get in either. It doesn't work that way. The clenched fist is the hoarding idea. The open hand allows money to come and go, and you've got a different attitude in the way you're looking at it. Look, there are three basic reasons that we save money for. Number one is for an emergency fund. Number two is for purchases. Number three is for wealth building. When the emergency fund is involved, what we're saving for here is unexpected events. Unexpected events do occur. You can count on it. Grandma said it. Grandma said to save for a visual aid. It's going to rain. Money Magazine says 78% of you will have a major negative financial event in any given 10-year period of time. That means 8 out of 10 of you in here, if I count 10 families, are going to have something come along and punch you to the tune of $7,000, $8,000, $5,000, somewhere in that range, and hit you with an unexpected event, and you have to be ready. Emergencies are going to happen. They're unexpected. Count on it. Well, Dave, you need to be positive. I'm positive. Emergencies are going to happen. You can count on it. And you've got to be ready for the emergencies. There's no way around it.
Emergency fund? Why do I need that as a teenager? Unexpected events are always going to happen. What? Even the teenagers. Remember those rainy days Dad was telling you about? Well, I can promise you it's going to rain. The question is, will you have your umbrella?
Now, remember, baby step one is $1,000 in the bank. We're going to set aside $1,000 really quickly. The hardest baby step, the easiest baby step. And then, when we go fully into the emergency fund, we're going to call it baby step 3. And you notice we skipped a step. We'll come back and fill that in later. But these two both have to do with the emergency fund, so I want to make sure they're covered in this lesson. Baby step 3, have a fully funded emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of expenses set aside. Now, I recommend you put that in a good money market account. A money market account you can get with a good mutual fund company. It doesn't pay a lot. It's going to pay kind of like CD type rates. Whatever CD rates are, over about 6 months you can have this on a money market account. The good news here is there's no penalty for taking the money out if you have an emergency. You can just write a check against that money market account. So it's where I park my personal emergency fund, or where I park short-term savings for stuff I'm saving for less than 5 years. So if I'm saving up for other things that we'll talk about in a few minutes, I also use a money market account for that. Now, what you've got to remember, the mistake people make about the emergency fund is they think, ooh, this is like $5,000, $10,000, $15,000. 3 to 6 months of expenses is a lot of money. You start talking about having $15,000 sitting there in a money market account, people are saying, well, that doesn't give me much of a rate of return. I could do a BBD. I could do a bigger, better deal. Dave, I've got something I can do with that money. That's a lot of money. And that's not what it's for. Your emergency fund is not an investment. Say, not an investment. Your emergency fund is insurance. Say, insurance. Now here's the deal with insurance. Insurance doesn't make you money, does it? Say no. Insurance costs you money, and it costs you money to protect your assets, to protect your investments. And so by investing money at a low rate of return, or parking money, really, in a money market at a low rate of return, you're not making much money on your money. So it's kind of costing you money, like insurance does, but it's there to protect you. So you don't have to cash out your 401k if the transmission goes out. You don't have a problem if you get laid off and have to pay the house payment a little bit. You know, you got issues that are going to happen when life comes along and there's a $5,000, an $8,000, or a $12,000 gotcha. Then all of a sudden you're not trying to cash out investments because you've got protection for the investments with this. The trick with this is don't touch it. Do not touch it. This is not a leather couch fund. This is not a I want to go to the Bahamas fishing fund. This is not a oh honey I found a bass boat fund. This is an emergency fund. You do not touch it. And once you get that in place, it will cause you to relax. It'll give you a sense of peace, a sense of destiny with your money. It is a huge emotional step in your financial process. Never miss this. The weird thing is, when you get an emergency fund, you'll quit having emergencies. Have you ever noticed that when you're broke, your life looks like a country song? You know what I'm talking about? Everything that can go wrong will. Murphy shows up. You know who Murphy is? The guy, if it can go wrong, it will. I am convinced that when you have an emergency fund, it is Murphy repellent. That Murphy that comes up, knocks on the door, he said, "Got an emergency fund, $12,000. He goes, "Okay, I'll go see your neighbor." You know, you can chase a black cat when you've got an emergency fund. Come here. It is amazing to me how this works. That Sharon and I, we got that emergency fund in place, and when what we've been through, going broke and losing everything, I mean, honey, we got an emergency fund for the emergency fund. We're like conservative, right? We just don't want to even go near those kinds of pain ever again. There's no chance. So we got this huge pot. And once we got that, we don't even use the emergency fund for emergencies. Something comes up, we just kind of work it out. But we don't have big emergencies like we used to. Because everything was a crisis when we had absolutely no dollars. And when you put some pad between you and life will leave you alone a little bit in the negative ways anyway.
Well, that's a perfect example of Murphy's Law. Anything that can go wrong, well, Murphy's Law can happen to your money as well. Emergency fund can turn a disaster into nothing more than a minor inconvenience. Let's say you get a flat tire or hit a ball and it shatters the windshield on your neighbor's car, or maybe you just lock yourself out of your own car. These things aren't cheap, and your emergency fund will cover the expenses with no freak-out episode or no distressed phone calls to your parents. Having an emergency fund is kind of like having Murphy repellent. Your bad luck tends to disappear because you plan for the unexpected. How much do you need in your emergency fund? Enough to cover 3 to 6 months of your expenses, which might not be more than a car repair, an insurance bill, or a cell phone bill money, those kinds of dollars. When you have more money and more monthly expenses, such as rent or utilities, you want to add more to your emergency fund, just in case old Murphy comes knocking.
The emergency fund is your first savings priority. Do it quickly. Do that $1,000. Then do baby step 2 when we cover that in the debt lesson. And then step up there and finish this emergency fund, fully funded, 3 to 6 months of expenses. The second thing we teach you to save money for is for purchases. Instead of borrowing to buy something, pay cash by using the sinking fund approach. For instance, let's say you had a $4,000 dining room set, and you went down to Rooms There They Went. And they would have, if you went to the local furniture store, right, and you went down there, there's a $4,000 dining room set, they would have 90 days, same as, right? And you could go in there and you could finance it. Well, here's the trick. A buddy of mine in the finance business told me the other day that 88% of the 90 days, same as cash contracts, that's 9 out of 10, do not pay off in 90 days. And when they don't pay off in 90 days, or even if you pay a little payment you're supposed to pay through there and you don't pay it on time, they'll still tag you and they back charge you through the whole thing with the interest, and then you get to pay payments for the rest of your dad blame life at 24 or 38% interest, is the way this deal works. And they kick you in the tail. So this means that you're going to have borrowed at 24% interest. You'd have payments of $211 a month as an example for 24 months. And so you'd end up paying $5,064 for a $4,000 dining room set. Here's an idea. Here's an old-fashioned thought, the way your grandmother would think or your great-grandmother would think about money. Here's an idea. Here's what a sinking fund is. It's a commercial real estate term. If you buy a commercial real estate building and it's got a 20-year roof on it, you know that in 20 years you got to buy a roof, so every year you set aside out of your income 1/20th of the roof. So when the roof, which is a big hairy deal on a big building, comes up, you've got the money to put the roof on it. It's not a surprise. That's a sinking fund. And that's all we're doing here. We're just going to save money and earn a little bit of interest on our money rather than paying someone else payments and being stuck in a rut. And so what if you saved $211 a month? You did this for 18 months. You could pay cash. Now, some of you are quick with a calculator or quick with your math, or you'll go back later and run the numbers. You go, no, wait a minute, 18 times 211 is not 4,000. You're right, it's not. 18 times 211 is actually only $3,798. 3,800 bucks. But you know what I've discovered? Did you know that 90 days is not the same as cash? That if you have 38 Uncle Benjamin Franklins, that you could probably walk into a furniture store and get a deal, couldn't you? Do you think you could buy a $4,000 dining room set for 3,800 bucks doing that? you'll get special attention if you just walk around and do this right here. Because they just don't, the kid, you go up to ring it up and the kid will go like, well, dude, this one's got like real money. You know? And so it's a cool process. You can get deals like this, and we're going to talk about that in the bargain lesson, so don't miss it. So 90 days is not the same as cash. Now, do all furniture stores always discount when you do that? Well, absolutely not. Do I leave with my money if they don't? Absolutely. Because I'm going to save up and pay for it. And you start paying for furniture that way, you're going, I'm not sure I like the furniture. I kind of like this. I'm just going to go home. You know what I'm saying? Or let's think about a car, for example. Let's kind of look at that, because everybody's saying, ooh, car payments. You always got to have a car payment. That's the thing that goes around all the time. We'll talk about that in detail in the debt lesson. But what if you had a $4,600 car? You could save for a $4,600 car, and you could do that by putting $464, which, by the way, is the average car payment in North America today, according to USA Today. If you put $464 just in the cookie jar for 10 months, not even a whole year, and then you could buy a car. Well, now, Dave, $4,600 won't buy much of a car. It'll buy a car without payments. And it will do it in 10 months. And did you know I can drive out of state highway that way about 20 miles, or I can drive out of state highway about that way about 20 miles, and you could too, and I can buy me a 10-year-old Honda Accord that is a very, very nice automobile for $4,600. I could do the same thing with a nice Ford Taurus and probably buy it for even less than that. And that's a great car to get me back and forth to work for 10 more months while I do it again. And do it for 10 more months. And now I'm driving a $15,000 car 30 months in, paid for. This is called saving up and paying for things. It's a novel idea. It's kind of sweeping the nation. It's different. Think it through. Think it through. It'll come to you.